Hi, this is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author in mental health. One of my educator, that's right. I can't say counselor anymore. They busted me. Anyway, welcome to your Depression Recovery channel. Hey, we're not in that dull studio with all those books. I'm no longer a professor. I am Noah's partner in crime. Here we are in my backyard, the beautiful roses in the background. Chalk that up to Joan Bloch. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, relapse prevention. And I didn't come prepared with a joke. But, oh yes, I'm a mathematician. You said that last time.
It's true.
Do you hear about the math teacher? He wasn't a math teacher. He was just a math student, but he was afraid of negative numbers. He would stop at nothing to avoid them.
So we're going to talk about mental health relapse or relapse prevention.
Not only prevention, but if it happens, how do you proceed?
Okay.
Both.
Good. If you're not doing well, hang in there, be brave, find support. If you're doing well, glad you're here, be thankful and see who you might be able to support. And I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Noah and I first connected. He was in the psych ward.
Yeah.
Someone gave him a copy when going through Hell Don't Stop, and he said, until I read this book, I thought I was the only person in the world who went through this experience. And he came to join my support group.
That's absolute fact.
Fast forward 4 years later, now I'm in the psych ward.
Yeah.
And he comes to St. Vincent Hospital, this little camera, and does a little, quick documentary. This guy's in bad shape, and all of the people on your channel who gave me love and support, it was fantastic. Good. So I don't know what the one good turn deserves another, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we both supported each other when we were in the hospital. Well, that was 7 years ago, and so far, knock on plastic, hospital free. Said like a true master.
Amen, brother. Okay, so lead us on this journey.
Well, the whole thing about relapse prevention came to me quite personally. It was 1983. God, time flies. Almost 40 years. The year I moved to
Can
Portland.
you believe he's almost 45 years old? It blows my mind every time I see
How
him.
about 73? I started being depressed when I was 18, actually long before that, but I had a really bad episode when I was 32 after my girlfriend left. Lived with my parents for a year in New York, and I finally made it back to Portland, and immediately everything opened up. I started my writing career. I met Joan, my current wife, partner. I found a job I could finally hold on to, and we bought a house, and within 9 months, everything had turned around, which is why I tell people who are desperate and thinking of harming themselves, hang in there, because you never know what tomorrow may bring. So this got better and better, and after a while I said, hey, I'm over. I'm 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I'm done with depression. Finally, I've conquered this beast. I've overcome this. And then in 1993, Joe and I separated due to some personal problems. Suddenly my publisher banned books, dropped 3 of my books, and I took this new medication named Effexor that completely flipped me out and put me into akathisia. And before I knew it, I was in hell again, my worst episode. And so I learned from that you can never say, when it comes to depression or alcoholism, which Noah has dealt with, that I'm done, I'm healed, I'm cured forever. Because relapse can always be around the corner. It can always be ready to sneak up on you. So what do? You have to basically be vigilant and take the same tools and strategies you use when you're depressed, like reach out for support, take medication, maybe exercise, structure, routine, purpose, and keep doing it. Don't say I'm cured. Like, you take an antibiotic, okay, 10 days are up, the infection's gone, who cares? Depression doesn't work like that. The brain is always vulnerable to another episode if you've had 1 or 2 or 3. So you can never rest on your laurels. But the good news is, if you do these things, you'll continue to live a good life.
So you're essentially saying, and I've had a similar experience in different ways, that an ounce of prevention can be worth a pound of cure. Yeah?
To coin a new phrase. Yeah, but the other thing I want to talk about is sometimes you can head a relapse off at the pass.
So when it's like starting to...
Yeah, you can notice small signs. Like for me, the canary in the coal mine is my sleep starts to get disrupted, which happened in December, and I almost lost it and had to go back in the hospital. Finally, fortunately, my nurse practitioner gave me this amazing medication for me, Seroquel. It nipped it in the bud. The other thing you can notice, you're essentially withdrawing more, or you're losing interest in things that you used to enjoy.
For myself and for a lot of people I know, when any part of 4 dimensions of wellness, which I'll quickly outline, start to waver, especially if more than 2 of them begin to falter, I'm usually, and or people I've met are usually on that path to something negative, something disruptive, something bad. So you have bio, psycho, social, and spiritual health. Those are 4 dimensions of wellness that get brought up.
My little chart.
100%. Biology, meaning like, am I taking care of my body? That could be sleep, that could be physical hygiene, that could be exercise, food. Psycho, am I communicating with other people? Am I current with my thoughts and my wants? Am I being honest with other people as to what's going on? Am I processing my feelings, aka not escaping them? Spiritual could be meditation, it could be formal religion, it could be exercise, it could be getting in nature, that can be whatever you want. Biopsycho, social, and am I spending time with people? Am I actually not isolating on a consistent basis? For me, if those 4 things are going pretty consistently, I'm usually okay. I'm not necessarily elated, but I'm usually okay. If one of those goes away, I can get away with it. If 2 of those go away, I start to suffer.
So if you start noticing what Noah's noticing, or I, for instance, with the sleep issue, or just kind of feeling more melancholic, that's why I rate my moods every day from 1 to 10.
You still do that daily?
Oh, I will never stop doing it. I was so traumatized in 96, 97. Yeah. So you say, okay, let's, if you're starting to get a sore throat, you go to the doctor. You don't wait for it to get to bronchitis and then to pneumonia, right?
That's a good point.
So you say, okay, what can I do to head this off with the pest? Oh, well, here's my skills. If I'm isolating, maybe I should start calling people. If I'm feeling melancholy, let's get an extra session with the therapist, or let's talk to my nurse practitioner bumping on my medication, right? If my sleep is really starting to go down the tubes, okay, am I getting to bed the same night every night? Am I practicing good sleep hygiene, right? And so you notice the small, sometimes very subtle changes that are leading you down the path of relapse, and you try to, make course corrections, like autopilot.
Absolutely.
While you can.
And while you can. And what I might interject that's worked really well for me is, if I'm not sure if this is happening the way I think it is, if I'm in any way, shape, or form struggling to be objective with my own behavior,
you ask somebody else.
You ask someone who knows you well enough, who has your best intention at heart, who can give you some honest feedback, who can help you do something that a lot of us struggle with, which is reality test. Am I seeming like myself? Are you noticing anything that's troubling or alarming? There's nothing wrong with getting that feedback.
Especially in mania. I had to finally, at the age of 65, had to admit that I'm bipolar 2. Which means, instead of going to these floridly manic things where you spend all your money you don't have, and think you're going to be president of the United States.
Hey, Doug, you will be. Just don't give up.
All right, thank you. Anyway, I wouldn't want that job. But you start to kind of, get a little bit grandiose. You start to sleep less. Joan was always good at noticing, because you don't notice yourself when you're becoming manic. If you have bipolar disorder, someone else has to point it out towards you. You don't have objectivity. So when I go to see my nurse practitioner virtually, Joan always shows up and he says, "Okay, have you noticed that Douglas is more irritable? Have you noticed that his mood is changed?" Because, as Noah says, you need someone looking at you objectively, because you can't always tell yourself if you're going down the tubes.
Yeah, staying current with yourself can be hard.
So it's important to have someone around you who can witness you and can give you a heads up.
100%.
The other thing is, okay, so let's assume that you don't head it off at the pass and you're back in that same pit. In terms of alcohol stuff that Noah deals with, some people will say, "Oh my God, I had a drink. Oh my God, my recovery is destroyed. Hey, I might as well get drunk anyway and just forget about the whole thing."
Yeah, which also leads into self-deprecating language and behavior.
And so what I like to call it, on the mental health side and alcohol side, is this is not a relapse, it's a dip. And you can respond really quickly. Course correction, like the autopilots that take you from New York to LA, you don't even know it, but they're not always pointed towards LA. They deviate here, deviate there, and the course correction of the computer keeps putting them right back on target. So think of a course correction if you have a dip or something starts to go down the tubes, as opposed to throwing up your hands and saying, it's all over. And the other thing to remember is, you came out of it before, you'll come out of it again.
100%. It's to stay reasonable with yourself, and it's not to discredit the progress you've made. It's not to speak for the future and become hopeless and anxious about the probability of XYZ. This is now, that was then. Do your best to soothe yourself, be nice to yourself, be unconditionally supportive of yourself, and remember that you're not a failure. I mean, I refuse to ever go down a path where I'm going to validate this idea, which has been a long-standing misnomer in my mind. It comes from a lot of different things I've learned about with childhood trauma and who knows what. But I'm constantly looking for validation that there's something bad or wrong about me. So when something happens, historically, that is out of line with who I think I am or what I think I want, it was very easy for me to say fuck it. Very, very easy. Throw caution to the wind with whatever. If it was with a diet, then I would go back to binge eating and gaining weight. If it was exercise, let's say I miss a couple days, well, screw it, I might not go. If it's with drinking, well, I had a drink or I got drunk one night. Everything's ruined. This confirms it. I'm going to go ahead and obliterate my life.
It's black and white thinking.
It's black and white thinking.
One of the 10 cognitive distortions, black and white thinking, all or nothing.
All or nothing.
Yeah, doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And getting away from that reality and accepting it doesn't have to be that way is very soothing. It's very calming. Because what happens when you start being negative towards yourself?
Then you stop treating yourself well, and that's the whole way to stay mentally and physically healthy.
100%.
It's all about self-care, boys and girls.
It really is all about self-care. And I would say it's also about ritualized, habitual self-care.
Yeah, about getting into a routine and having consistency.
Because you won't always be in the mood.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah, you have to make yourself go to the gym even if you don't want to. You have to make yourself, go ahead and call that. They call today the 30,000 or the 3,000 pound phone or something. Yeah, you have to do things when you may not be feeling like it. So it's a tough job. Staying physically mental healthy, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And the other thing is, this is why I'm such a big believer in groups, such a huge believer. If you go to a group, whether it's the support groups I used to run or AA or all the other 12-step groups, you have other people around to give you the encouragement when you falter, to realize you're not alone, to realize that you're not the only one, to realize you're not defective. Group support to me is one of the most powerful, if not the powerful most thing you can do to create consistent mental and physical health.
Yeah.
We were evolved in community, we evolved in tribes. Human beings are pack animals, we're social animals, that's why we get along with dogs. And when we get together in a group, it does something to the brain chemistry. It really does. We're talking about a million years of evolution here. So this is why people live in communities, and this is why the community supportive 12-step groups, support groups of all kinds, are so powerful for keeping people on the path. So I said in my last video, there's never been a better time to be mentally ill than now.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources. Yeah,
there's resources. I mean, look at ketamine, for depression. Now psilocybin here in Portland. We have ECT. We have TMS. We've got a bunch of medications. I used to be a skeptic until I took Seroquel, and it felt like somebody was stitching my brain back together.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and listen, something I want to interject that popped in my head. We're talking about things that we know work. We know work. It's just a matter of fact. It doesn't mean you think it's going to work in the heat of mental health relapse. Like if you're already there, it's not a requirement to believe or agree with or think that it'll work for you. You just have to physically get yourself to do it. Yet no one ever, for example, and I think most people can relate to this, let's say you're on a spectrum of not doing well. You're not at the bottom, but you're not at the top. No one's ever gone into a good workout, left that workout, be it a bike ride, a run, weightlifting, CrossFit, left it and thought, I wish I hadn't gone. I feel worse. It just doesn't happen. The same thing happens with community support. It's one of those things that you need to go in spite of yourself because others can hold the belief for you, like we could, that it will make a difference. And we're talking about survival. And that's how I kind of see it. Maybe you think that's dramatic.
No.
Depending on how bad you are, we want to survive.
It's all about survival.
It's all about survival.
Yeah.
So we're not saying necessarily that doing this is going to make you not be in pain, but it might lead to less pain, negative happiness, as you taught me about.
Right. I mean, my whole theme in my website, Overcoming Suicidal Pain, which I wish I had stuck with the original title, Surviving Suicidal Pain, because you're not saying you're just going to survive. But the point is that people become suicidal when the level of pain they're in overwhelms their ability to cope with the pain.
Correct.
So you can do two things. You can either increase your coping resources or decrease the pain.
Yeah.
Exercise is I think, like you said, you cannot exercise and not have your brain change for the better.
And exercise can be small and easy.
Yeah, right. So every time you decrease the pain, even 2 or 3%, it means your level of hope goes up and your chances of recovery go up. So
100%.
Yeah. So there are things that if you do them, they're going to work to some extent. And the thing is that you have to. It's tough when depression robs you of motivation, but this is why you need other people around you. Right. You need your best friend to come over and say, "Okay, Doug, I know you don't feel like it, but we're going to go for a run around the block or go on a bike ride." And then once you start doing it as exercise. Oh, wow. Yeah, now I remember why I did this. So,
you know what else can rob me of motivation? And I know you're the same. Doing really well. can sometimes rob you of the motivation to do the little things that helped you get out of or maintain mental health. And it's its own little trap. Mood's going good, friendships are going good, finances going good, life is going well. You're content, you're mostly upbeat, you're relatively removed from legitimate and despairing anxiety and depression. I think part of this video, and my hope for this video, as a reminder to myself, and certainly for anyone that happens to be in a better space, particularly if you're someone who's in a better space coming from a dangerously unwell space, don't rest on your laurels. Find ways to stay consistent, whatever that means for you, to continue to work on the dimensions of wellness we've talked about, and just to not be afraid, not live in fear of the return, but just to show respect for where you came from. I know this is something I've struggled with. I've done better and gotten way less healthy until suddenly I wasn't doing well again. And then I panic and scramble and try to remember what I did to feel better, as opposed to trying to maintain, to whatever degree, some balance in those different ways. What do you think? What do you think, old bud?
There was I wish I had word black. I look much better in black.
Oh,
well.
Doug, you're as handsome as it gets, brother.
Oh, thank you. Anyways, Ram Dass, this great spiritual teacher, used to say, comfort puts people to sleep.
Comfort puts people to sleep.
There's a danger in being too comfortable.
Yeah.
For the very reason you said, then you just essentially, there's no motivation. I mean, no pain, no gain. I know it sounds like a cliche. It is a cliche, but it's true. People do not change unless they become uncomfortable enough to make the change.
That's me.
So
That's
and it's human nature.
me.
Human nature is if things are going on, why should I change anything?
Yeah.
So in some ways, crises are opportunities for growth and transformation. So when your life is falling apart, it may not be a bad thing.
Yeah, 100%.
It may be that an opportunity for you to try something different and reorient yourself in a way that you'll come out better. I'm a big believer in the idea that all things are happening for the best for us, even the things that were pain, tragedy, loss occur. I mean, you can't know at the time, but when you look back, like, the fact that this woman, Eugene, who I love, left me. Well, went into the psych ward for, living with my parents for a year. But what happened? The phoenix rose from the ashes. I ended up here in Eugene. I'm in Portland, in this house I've lived in since 1983. Met Joan. So, the loss and the disruption, that I felt with this relationship in my life falling apart, ended up getting me in a much better place than I would have if that hadn't happened.
Yeah, and I think paying attention to the beginning stages of any given issue, be it addiction or mental health, is important, because I think you can learn from others. It doesn't have to go to the absolute bottom before you start flipping it and leveraging it for positive change.
It does require lifelong vigilance, but again, what's the payoff? Healthy lifestyle, social, spiritual, mental, physical. And the things you can control, they say in AA, you should work on. Obviously, sometimes something's going to happen. You get a diagnosis, your partner dies or leaves, then you respond to it. But in general, you can basically have a lot to say about your mental health by doing these very simple lifestyle habits and just being consistent.
Yeah, being consistent, taking responsibility for yourself, being gentle with yourself.
And also the phrase from AA, relapse is part of recovery.
It's not a requirement, but it does happen.
There is no way that people go through life without having their losses or their tragedies. You can't avoid them. But however, you can make use of them.
Yeah.
They can be what I call redemptive. You can take a lemonade. No, you can take a lemon and make it into a lemonade. You don't want to make a lemonade into a lemon. That would be tough.
That would be very difficult.
That'd be going against entropy. But anyway, I believe that anything can be used as grist for the mill for your spiritual growth.
Good.
I would have been done a long time ago if I didn't believe that.
I think I would too.
I have been in ridiculously dark places. If I didn't have my spiritual belief to hold on to, it would be all over. So, what can I tell you? Keep on trucking, as the Dalai Lama said, never give up, never give up. And if you fall, just get right back up. What was that? 7 times fall, 8 times get up, or something like that.
I mean, everyone gets it. 10 steps forward, 9.9 steps back. Take another 10 steps. And find people you identify with. I think that'd be a really nice way to end this video. From my perspective, as he mentioned earlier, when I had my big mental breakdown, my suicidal depression that was brought on as far as how it was catapulted by an adverse reaction to a medication, but I was actually already beginning to be depressed and anxious in a possibly clinical way on a lower level. It flipped into something more aggressive. I convinced myself that no one had ever gone through what I was going for. I convinced myself no one had ever been through what I was going through. No one could have told me different, because it was so uniquely uncomfortable, until I read his memoir and found out that someone else in fact had, which led to a lot of hope. So So thank you guys for being here in this video. Yeah, get this book. All links will be in the description. Doug, thank you for being on my channel and spending some time.
Yes.
And yeah, comment below. Let us know what you'd love to see in the future. All those things. Just know that we're holding space for you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
And I must say, Noah is looking terrific.
Oh,
He's an example. Everything he talks about, he's an example. At least today. Now 2 years ago, he was a complete mess.
That's right.
But today is a new day.
there you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from it. If you did, please leave your comments in the comments section or give it a like. Actually, you should give it a like first and then leave your comments, because likes draw people to this video and other videos in the future. If you want to email me, please do so, douglasbloch@gmail.com. I can't answer all my emails because I get so many of them from other sources. The comments, however, I always answer. If you would like to subscribe to this channel and be notified every time I do a new video, simply click on my photo during the closing credits. You'll be taken to the subscribe page. And if you click on the bell to the upper right, you'll be notified every time I do not only a new video, but a new live chat that occurs every Sunday at noon Pacific time. And if you want to help out this channel financially, sorry about that, you want to be a sustaining member, click on the Patreon link and you'll be taken to my crowdfunding page. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you again for watching.